Welcome back to the IBFP. Here's your host, Foxy New.
Welcome back, fight fans. Welcome back. Let's just dig right into it. Welcome to another edition of Fanboys Exposed with the IBFP. We start with Alpha King. Alpha King states, so why when the Charlos fight for knockouts but get in some good fights, you say they're overrated? And he's comparing that to Terence Crawford's most recent fight against Velasquez. And I'll put it like this. Terence Crawford did brawl with Velasquez, did sit in the pocket, and did absorb a lot of punishment and some good shots, and even lost some rounds early in the fight. But overall, when you compare Terence Crawford to the Charlo brothers, you're simply not talking logical sense. You understand that Terence Crawford chose to fight that way. The Charlo brothers doesn't choose to brawl. That's the only thing that they can do. They're not, multi-dimensional fighters. Terence Bud Crawford is. We've seen Terence Crawford fight a guy like Jeff Horn, who's just in rough and rugged. And, it's Velasquez, a strong fighter who pushed Manny Pacquiao back, and made it very difficult for him. And Terence Crawford didn't lose a round and ended up stopping Jeff Horn. See, Terence Crawford can do surgical work in the ring. He can hit and not get hit. But that wasn't the premise of what Terence Crawford was trying to accomplish against Velasquez. He was simply going to bulldoze and run through him and get the knockout at any cost. And that's exactly what he did. Terence Crawford has dimensions and abilities to fight different styles. The Charlo brothers simply do not. Let's keep it going. The next fanboy we're going to expose is Tom Ross TV. Tom Ross TV states Jermall Charlo is 160 pounds, but David Benavidez is 168. It's funny when Canelo was at 168, you weren't calling for Canelo to fight Benavidez, but now that Canelo was stripped of 168 belt due to ducking the other champs, you want to bring up Charlo? I smell pandering to a specific fan base in the midst. So it's always good to debunk a fanboy, and the first thing we're going to debunk is Canelo Alvarez was never stripped of any belt at 168 pounds. So that's the first lie we catch this guy in. If Canelo was stripped of a belt, then why did his trainer, Eddie Reynoso, come out and state that Canelo Alvarez was never stripped of a belt, and that's absolute fake? And so, we have to report what they're reporting, and what they're reporting, and that's coming out of the Canelo camp from his trainer and his promoter, is that Canelo Alvarez was not stripped of any belt at 168 pounds. The second thing is Jermall Charlo is a 160-pound fighter and David Benavidez is 168. But the difference here is Jermall Charlo is talking about potentially moving up to 168 if he can't get the fights he wants, and he would love to fight another champion in David Benavidez. Those are his words. He made that statement, and he also stated that if he fights David Benavidez, it will be the vet against a youngster. So, he's making light of David Benavidez's experience and feels he has an upper hand on him. So let's not be, naive and not honest about the situation. Jermall Charlo is clearly referencing David Benavidez. He's clearly talking about moving up to 168, and that's a fight he simply wants to make at some point. Now, as far as Canelo Alvarez, why would I call for Canelo to fight David Benavidez when clearly the PBC does not allow their fighters to fight anyone else? These guys are fanboys. So let's see. Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder, they never fought. Errol Spence and Terence Crawford, they never fought. So what makes you think the PBC is going to bend over backwards to make David Benavidez versus Canelo Alvarez? It simply doesn't make sense. But let's keep it going. The next fanboy we're going to expose is Glenn Richard. He said, you sound crazy like a true Crawford fanboy. Don't get me wrong, Crawford is a dog, but so is Porter and Spence. He's not knocking out either one of those dudes. But you're clearly a Spence hater and a Crawford lover. So let's just expose this guy. Now, first of all, you say I'm a Spence hater for simply naming facts. The fact is, Errol Spence Jr. is slow and lethargic. The fact is, Errol Spence did go life and death with Sean Porter. The fact is that Errol Spence Jr. did not knock out Mikey Garcia. Those are all facts. Facts can't be biased, and they're not hateful at all. Those are just honest, objective facts about what Errol Spence Jr. has done. And, and another fact is Terence Bud Crawford has literally knocked out every single welterweight he's fought. He's undefeated at welterweight, and he's knocked out every welterweight he's fought. And pretty much every welterweight he's fought has all been bigger and stronger than him. Yet somehow Terence Bud Crawford has mowed through and stopped each and every one. See, these guys don't want the truth. They don't like the truth. And, and as far as Sean Porter, he's been literally dropped by everyone from Adrian Broner to Errol Spence to Yordenis Ugas. So what makes you think that he couldn't get stopped? See, Terrence Crawford has a varying skill set that Errol Spence simply just does not have. He has dimensions to his game, and that would hurt both fighters in Porter and Spence. But let's keep it going. Big L states, I give up. You don't know anything about boxing. Dude styles make fights. Those dudes Bud fought. Spence and Porter would have stopped him. So let's take a look. So the guys that Terrence Crawford fought, Errol Spence and Sean Porter would have stopped him. But let's take a look at it. Errol Spence couldn't stop a guy from 135 moving up in a Mikey Garcia, but he was supposed to stop Mean Machine. He was supposed to stop Jose Benavidez. He was supposed to stop Jeff Horn, but he couldn't stop Mikey Garcia. And then if he tries to stop one of those guys and he doesn't, he's going to turn around and say, oh, I was just trying to box. Come on, let's be honest and unbiased. And Sean Porter couldn't even stop Phil LaGreco or Adrian Granados when both of those guys have been knocked out. Granados has been knocked out by Danny Garcia, and Phil LaGreco was even knocked out by Amir Khan. Let's be honest and unbiased. So these guys aren't the power punchers you thinking they are. You got to get out of your feelings. But let's keep it going. And the next one comes from Andre Wright. Andre Wright says, Canelo is looking for low-hanging fruit again. Billy Joe Saunders or Callum Smith, not the challenge that Charlo would be. Now, you have to understand that Billy Joe Saunders and Callum Smith would both be heavily favored to beat Jermall Charlo. They've actually competed at 160 pounds and fought guys that are 160. And, Callum Smith is competing at 168, for years. And he's actually fighting 168ers. Same as Billy Joe Saunders. Both of these guys are competing at 168 currently. Both have a belt at 168, and both are guys fighting guys that are in that weight, not simply moving up in weight. Jermall Charlo is at 160, but he's only fighting guys from 154. Explain that. Why are you fighting a guy off a loss in a Dennis Hogan moving up from 154? And Dennis Hogan even won rounds on Jermall Charlo. You see a guy like Brandon Adams, he couldn't even get him out of there. Extremely small guy. You have to be honest and unbiased when you analyze the situation. Is that Jermall Charlo, he was exposed against Matt Korobov. They had to rob Matt Korobov of the decision. When you see Matt Korobov took Jermall Charlo to school, we have to be honest and unbiased. Jermall Charlo would be nothing more than a tune-up fight for Canelo Alvarez. But once again, unbiased as always, just the IBFP.